Welcome back to Technical Reading Through Games. All right. So today we play. So this should be a lot of fun. All right. So if you recall, Monday we went through the new unit, which is audience and games. All right. So, the point basically of what we're going to be doing today is you're going to be, first of all, you have to find a game that you want to use, okay? We call it a text. A game you want to use. The second thing, once you figure out what game it is that you want to use, you need to determine, is that a game that I can stick with for this entire unit? All right? Now, I'm not against you changing games part through the unit. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. You're just going to have to explain on your portfolio why it is, or not even why. You're just going to have to explain the transition that you made from one game to another, okay? So if you discover, like in like a week that the game that you're working on isn't going to be the game that you want to stick with, that's fine, all right? But try today to figure out what game it is that you actually want to use. Remember, your whole goal is to determine the demographic of that game and how effectively that game addresses that audience, all right? So today, determine your game. In the back of your mind, you should be thinking, what demographic is this game supposed to serve? Or what demographic do you think the game designers had in mind as they designed the game? All right. So I'll be around to ask you questions. I think that's it, right? Any questions? What questions? We're all good? All right. So remember, you change pods, you rotate pods clockwise with your pod mates there, all right? And I'll be around and asking you questions. All right, so go ahead and get to it. Thanks. Alright, so this is called Fez. Now, have you played Fez before?
Yeah.
So what made you pick Fez for this particular assignment?
It's like fun and it has multiple levels.
Okay. Alright. It's got a narrative too, so okay. Alright, gentlemen, so you guys are playing Call of Duty World War II against bots, right?
Yes.
Okay, so why Call of Duty World War II?
Well, we're used to shooters, so that's kind of just what we went with.
Okay, so what would you say though if somebody was like, well, I'm not sure this is necessarily an appropriate game? What would be your response to that?
They're too childish to play it.
I'm just kidding. Probably, it's not really. You can change the graphics, I'm pretty sure, to make it, you might be able to make it less bloody, but most Call of Duties have that feature. And overall, I think it's just fine to play. There's not really anything bad about it. Maybe the campaign has some stuff, but facing bots, there's not really, just a little bit of gore, but
Okay. Alright. Alright, gentlemen, so it looks like you've settled on Zelda here. Oh, so you're playing Zelda in two different ways here, okay? So one of you is playing on the screen, okay? So one of you brought your Switch in, and the other one is playing on our class Switch, but you're both playing Zelda. Okay, all right. So let me ask you then, why Zelda?
I think it'd be interesting. Like, I mean, I've never tried out Zelda, so like, I have no idea like who it'd be for. So I think giving it a try would be kind of interesting to try to figure out if it's like for like older fans of the game or like what.
All right. Do you think Zelda has a very specific audience, or do you think it's more like I don't want to say universal. It's kind of a cop-out answer, but do you think it has a very specific audience, or do you think it could appeal to anyone?
It could be older fans, and then also people, since it's on a newer console, it gives newer players a chance to also try the game out and see if they like it.
All right. All right. All right, gentlemen. So we have a board game here with this group, and what's this board game called?
This War of Mine, the board game.
All right. So this looks like it's fairly complicated. A lot of pieces, a lot of parts. Do you think this game would appeal to just about anyone?
It seems kind of like it would be, because it's a narrative game, like kind of board game, mostly.
Okay. All right. It'll be interesting to see what you guys think at the end of this thing. All right, so we're here. This is a HTC Vive station, and they are playing Richie's Plank Experience, which in and of itself basically is, walking out to a plank. I think you're 80 stories in the air is the idea here. Now, they're playing a different mode of Richie's Plank Experience with the idea of, heading around the city to put out fires and those kinds of things. So, all right, so gentlemen, what made you decide that you wanted to pick this one?
It just seems like a really, immersive game. It's, entertaining. It's just, fun to do.
All right. Okay. So, let me ask you this, I guess. Do you feel that this game would appeal to anyone?
No, not everyone, because if someone's scared of heights, then they probably won't like it.
Or how real does it feel?
Pretty real. I tend to lose my balance a lot.
All right. All right. So can you do me a favor? Can you show me what the actual plank experience is, just so people? All right. Now, are you afraid of heights?
I mean, sometimes depends.
All right. All right. Now, do you think there's enough in this game to be able to explore to take a look at, looking at demographics?
Yeah, it seems like it's not too big of a city, but there's like a lot of different things in it, like little Easter eggs and stuff.
All right. So we're back to Fez here. So what? Looks like you're starting all over again. What exactly happened here?
So I couldn't really move and like advance in the level. It wouldn't let me, so I had to restart.
Ah, got it. All right. All right. So the graphics for Fez seem like they're pretty simple. Is this? I mean, does this make it more appealing, less appealing?
Um, in my opinion, it makes it more appealing. Like, it looks like an older type of game, and I like older games.
Okay. All right. So it looks like you have a message, but can you read that message?
No.
No.
There's a thing right there so I can translate
Okay, so yeah, so we do actually have a Fez translator in the classroom here just for this purpose, if people really wanted to translate it. All right, so we're back to the Call of Duty group here. Now, what is going?
We went into multiplayer and we're facing no bots this time. We're just gonna go around the map and just look at the different graphics and scenery.
All right. Now, let me ask you this. So, I know like one of the big things with Call of Duty World War II was their whole idea of like brotherhood and trying to be respectful to those who actually participated in, in World War II. And I know both of you played this pretty extensively, both the campaign and multiplayer. So, do you think they did a good job of that? Do you think they met that goal of being respectful of those who actually participated in World War II?
Yeah, I think they did that especially with the campaign. The first mission you're put into is D-Day, and that like can really like hit people that didn't expect it to get that like graphic that fast. But in multiplayer, it's more like you can face people, but if you go in like how we're doing, you can just like look at the scenery. Like I'm pretty sure this is D-Day, this map, and you can just look around and see how it affected like war and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like you can even like look in the distance there and see like it looks like battle going on there and stuff. You can see if you look up, right, there's planes going overhead too, right? Battle going up there, right? You can just see just how chaotic it really is.
They say like this game's not educational, but like we would learn it in school. So I don't know why this wouldn't be educational if we're able to learn it in school, just because it's a game.
Yeah. So I know. So I mean, obviously teaching this would be controversial if if you're teaching about World War II, and then you had your class jump into like the campaign of World War II. I guess the question is why do you think it would be controversial?
Just because like we learn everything about it in school, but like when game, like people don't think it's educational, but like it's like the same thing as learning in school, just a game form, I guess.
watch film, like movies over it. We've watched some movies that were over D-Day, and they were pretty graphic. And I don't understand how a game is any different, educational-wise, because we're experiencing it.
Yeah. So, do you think a game like this does appeal to anyone? Like, do you think that there should be like an age limit on this? Do you think, or do you think it should be, anybody who wants to play it should be able to play it? What do you think?
I think anyone can be able to play it, but if you're like really younger, like I'd say like 10 level, I wouldn't recommend it, but it can be like educational. Like you could go like how we are around the map for like people that are younger, and they could just see it, but not like any of the graphic campaign or like facing people.
Got it. Alright, so we're back to Zelda Breath of the Wild here. So, for somebody if somebody's never played Zelda Breath of the Wild before, like can you give them like a brief overview of like what the game is, maybe what it's about? It's hard to do, right? I mean, it's okay. So let me ask you then, do you have to know a lot about Zelda to be able to just jump in this game, or can you know nothing about Zelda, jump in the game, and still have a good time?
I mean, I'm just kind of killing some, I think they're goblins, I don't know, but it's just kind of fun, I'm just swinging.
I don't think you really need to know a whole lot about Zelda to jump into this one. I mean, every Zelda game's unique, but it kind of uses like the same theme, Link has to go save the princess from the, evil demon or whatever. So it's not a whole lot different.
Okay, do you think so? I mean, the Zelda games in the past have been, pretty much any age group. Do you think this Zelda would be appropriate for any age?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you think it still appeals to any age?
Yeah.
All right, so looks like you guys have moved on to like mini games, right? The sports games. What's with the change? Why did you guys decide to change?
I don't know. I played that game before, and I guess I wanted something new, and it just like got repetitive because like there wasn't much to do in it.
All right, now do you play basketball?
Yeah,
Does it feel like you're playing basketball?
kind of. Like, if you don't like release early enough, the like thing just like falls on the ground, and then it's not really. So it's harder.
All right, do you think this is a game that would appeal to anybody?
Not if you don't like sports or anything.
What if you're not good at sports? Could you still pick this up and be decent at it, you think?
Yeah. Because you really just You can just throw the ball. And then,
You don't have to have a decent jump shot form or anything.
No.
All right.
Good. Yep. Nice finish.
All right. So looks like we've got back to the board game here. This War of Mine. Now, this board game is based off of a video game, correct? Have either of you played the video game?
I haven't played it, but I've seen people play it.
Okay.
Seen anything?
Okay. So now you've never played this game before, correct?
No.
How difficult was this thing to set up?
Not very difficult because every spot has a, like this visitor card, it has the visitor thing underneath it. So you just place all the visitor cards there. And it also tells you everything you need to know in the journal.
Okay, cool. All right. So you got the setup pretty fast, right? And it looks like there's a lot that you guys are going to be able to do in this game, right? So let me ask you. I mean, I said this before already, but do you think just anyone can just jump in this game, or do you think you have to have some kind of experience with this style of board game before playing?
I'm not entirely sure.
All right. Well, I'll come back to you guys after you play a little bit. All right. All right, so looks like you switched to Super Smash Brothers instead of Zelda here. Right? Why the switch?
Because I ran out of things to do. Because I'm at like the end of the game and there's not a whole lot left for me to do.
Got it. Okay. All right. In Super Smash Brothers, there's always something to do, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. So we talked a little bit about different kinds of narratives. How would you identify this kind of narrative? Like, what would you call it?
I would say it's the same like kind of narrative as Fortnite because like, you know, every game is different. There's not really like a set way to play. It changes every time.
Okay. So we're looking at more emergent style, right? Now, do you prefer this to like a Zelda kind of thing?
It really just depends on what mood I'm in.
That's fair. All right. All right. All right, so we're back to Fez. Is this game easy?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
All right, all right. Has its own set of challenges, right? So, 2D game, but with 3D game mechanic. So that's a little different, right? I've never seen a game quite like this before. Can anyone just pick this game up and play it?
Like not little kids, but like anybody over 6, yeah.
Okay. Is the game appropriate, do you think, for any age level?
Yes.
Okay, so there's nothing really in it. It's just a matter of traversing the world itself. Okay. All right. All right. Now, between the game mechanics, the graphics, you know, the kind of like the witty banter that you see on the screen there, you know, even between some of the NPCs and things, it seems like this could have a pretty specific demographic. So, just be thinking about who you think this game might specifically appeal to. Okay. All right, so we're back to our Call of Duty guys and their tour of the maps here, and so it looks like you're in a different map, right?
Yeah.
So what map is this?
We're not for sure.
It's like point, it should say the Santa.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've played this on multiplayer before, right?
Yes.
All right. So first of all, you know, one thing that I noticed that's different, you know, maybe with Call of Duty World War II than a lot of other games, is you can still see quite a bit of the world beyond just the map that you have access to, beyond just where you're allowed to go, right? Does that make the gameplay more interesting, less interesting, frustrating? What do you think?
I think it's necessary for them to have the background because with how the battle is, you need to show a lot more than just the map, and that's kind of what they went with this. Like, they went more for, like, the looks than... Some people don't really enjoy this Call of Duty because, like, the gameplay is kind of clunky, but they didn't really focus on the graphics, the story behind it, especially with the campaign.
So the game's a little more accurate, right? I mean, if you're looking at, you know, like more like modern, you know, first-person shooters, you know, you have a lot of like almost like futuristic weaponry, right? That reacts perfectly. Do all the weapons in this game all react perfectly?
Some of them are kind of clunky, but they are all pretty like weird. That's how the guns were back then. They don't look like the modern guns now.
So let me also ask you, do you feel like, you know, you have a better understanding or concept of what World War II might have been like because of this game?
I would say yeah, because like they looked back at the history to make this game, like even about the campaign. They actually like read about the history of World War II to make the campaign, put like real stuff in the game.
All right, so let me ask you, are you guys going to use Super Smash for this unit then, or are you going to stick with Zelda, or you're just still trying to determine what it is you want to do? Or are you going to use both?
Yeah, could we?
Yeah, I mean you could use both. I mean, what would be interesting, I think, if you use both Zelda and Super Smash, is that there's a lot that you can look at in terms of how they address their specific audiences. You know, especially with Super Smash being an esport, I think that would be really interesting too, if that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, you guys could trade off who does what, but I don't know. I mean, like I said, considering that Super Smash is an esport, I mean, I mean, there is a specific demographic then that might appeal to you more than others. I don't know. I haven't really explored it myself. So I'm gonna leave that up to you. And then of course Zelda. You know, I mean, the whole Zelda series is classic, but I mean, it may or may not be the same demographic that would look into Super Smash, and even just Nintendo itself. Nintendo games are pretty iconic, you know, and so usually when people have like these arguments between, you know, which console is the best, oftentimes I hear it between PlayStation and Xbox, and I don't even hear Switch in that conversation, which is interesting, I think. Now, are you two Switch fans?
I've never played it before, so this is like really interesting to me.
So what makes you a Switch fan over like an Xbox or a PlayStation?
The main thing I really like about Switch is that it's portable. I've always been more of a fan of portable consoles because I can take them anywhere.
Okay, that's interesting. So that may even play into the demographics as well. Just the idea that it's portable. I don't know anything about that. Alright, so you've had a full day of exploring your games, or like as we call them, the text you're going to use for your units. Some of you have multiple games you're going to use. It looks like I think every single one of you have pretty much determined what it is that you're going to do. Alright, and they're pretty varied, so that's a good thing. So just to recap, just to have this fresh in your mind, just be thinking about the demographic that your game is designed possibly for. You know, we're gonna talk a little bit about how do you narrow that down. What does that look like? How does that determine how the text in the game reads, how the gameplay reads, how that affects user interface, and all those kinds of things as well. All right. So that's it for today. No response today, but you will have a response in Google Classroom tomorrow. Now that you've all determined what your game's going to be for the unit. All right. I hope you all have a great day. What questions do you have? Yes. You can just slide the table around, and we'll move the game over to the other table there. Okay. So, all right. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.